Well, low supplies of grit mean some major roads may soon have to close. Many councils are now using a mixture of sand and grit.
As pedestrians outside government buildings did their best to cope with the icy weather, many were no doubt wondering what was being planned at senior level to deal with the crisis. The Emergency Response Committee held its second meeting today and warned that the supplies needed for road gritting remained at critical levels.
Salt supplies are likely to be low next week, with a limited amount of rock salt coming into the country. But the National Roads Authority continue to work with the local authorities, both with the procurement and the distribution of salt.
We are liaising with established importers. We are in conjunction with Irish embassies throughout Europe, trawling the continent. And at this stage it's of a preliminary nature, but we are getting positive feedback in a number of areas, and we're actively following up on those leads.
Dublin City Council workers today tackled the problem of icy footpaths, but with heavy snow forecast for the weekend, local authorities will be faced with fresh challenges. The government's emergency committee today insisted that the councils are properly equipped.
There's been significant investment in specialist equipment that is required for severe weather situations like this. You've seen the gritters and the salt barns that are required to go with those. They're not snow ploughs as in separate vehicles. These are snow blades which are attached on to the front of the same trucks which will be used, the gritter trucks.
The National Roads Authority is hopeful of securing around 10,000 tonnes of salt next week, but that's just half of what's likely to be needed. The Emergency Committee said this evening that it's still too early to say when or if salt supplies will run out next week and what roads, if any, may have to be closed. The committee will meet again tomorrow and Sunday to review the situation. Brian O'Donovan, TV3 News.
Freezing fog on the Shannon estuary prevented the MV Jumbo from making it to Limerick Port, so instead it came here to Foynes, some 40 kilometres south. The much needed 4,000 tonnes of rock salt was shipped from Tees in northeast England.
There's trucks going as far as Donegal down to Cork, far east of Dublin from this discharge, so it's badly needed, and hopefully there's more on the way, although I understand there is a difficulty in sourcing some of the salt. But as I said, we're open for business here, and as we have the capabilities that service as much as possible is needed for the country.
A shipment like this takes around 18 hours to unload, and about 200 truck drivers are involved in its distribution.
Noel Dempsey's out of the country at the moment on sunshine holiday, so we decided we'd look after the country for transport. That's all we can do.
And you come all the way down from Kilkenny?
Kilkenny, yeah.
Are you annoyed at the Minister that you're doing the hard work here and he's in Malta?
I'd somewhere be out where he is, and he could be doing the job he's supposed to do.
So you'll not only transport the grit back to Cork, but then you'll start gritting the roads as well?
Gritting this evening. Usually the senior engineer would let us know what time to go out and start gritting. We'd flake on from there, a couple of hours work.
Are you putting in more hours this time of year now?
We would be now, due to the cold snap.
What would an average day consist of?
The working thing maybe from 8 to 12 hours.
Each one of these trucks carries about 20 tonnes of salt. Now that may sound like a lot, but bear in mind that the Republic has more than 5,000 kilometres of national primary roads that need to be gritted on a regular basis. Now because of dwindling supplies, local authorities are mixing salt with other products so that their gritting stocks go further. Jerome Hughes, TV3 News at Foynes Port in Limerick.
There were a few delays on Dublin's M50 this evening as the salt and grit did its job. But in other areas of the city, road conditions were slowing things down. And it seems many motorists around the country haven't been managing to get very far at all.
We had the busiest day we've ever had last Monday when we did over 1,000 jobs in a single day, and it's continued through the week, and today, Friday, looks as if it'll be perhaps as busy again. It's battery problems and electrical problems, it's people slipping and sliding on the ice, and it's also people not having the right level of antifreeze in their car.
With the big thaw nowhere in sight, we asked an expert for advice on how to approach your journey if you have to venture out.
Always have a good warm waterproof jacket in the car. If you have waterproof trousers to complement it, a good sturdy pair of Gore-Tex boots is very good as well. You may not have a cat, but everybody should have a bag of this in their car. All it is grit, and it is ideal stuff to give you some purchase on your tyres. This is a controlled area here. There's nothing on the road near us, right? But if I brake now, do you hear the grating? That's how long it took us to stop, and we were doing less than 20 kilometres an hour.
Those without cars weren't subject to too much disruption today. Dublin Bus was running a full service with some curtailments, and nationwide bus services have been largely running to schedule with some delays. Operators are keeping the situation under constant review.
Obviously safety is our number one priority, and although most of our services have operated, where we feel that road services are not safe to operate on, then we simply won't operate on those services.
With roads icy, demand for train services has risen dramatically, and most afternoon services were packed to capacity.
You think the train is the safest bet today? Definitely, yeah. That's why I'm getting on it now, so I wouldn't chance going on the roads today, no.
Well, we've certainly been busier right through this cold snap, obviously with the difficulties on the road, and thankfully all of our routes are operating, both Dart and commuter area in Dublin and intercity, and of course, whereas Dart and commuter have been particularly busy in recent days, for the weekend travel we're expecting intercity to be a lot busier.
Over the past few weeks, Irish drivers have been facing conditions many have never experienced before, and the warning to motorists tonight is to stay on your guard, as things may yet get worse before we see any improvement. Geraldine Nina, TV3 News in Dublin.